First story. Spouse probably cheated on me 25 years ago. Does it matter now? About 25 years ago I was in the military and was on a 2-year assignment, a day's drive from where my 38-year-old wife and I lived. We had been married about 20 years at that point, so I only came home on the weekends. After the first year, wife started telling to just stay there and not come home until my assignment finally ended. I refused and continued coming home on the weekends. She started treating me very coldly and not wanting to be intimate on those weekends. Then after another 3 or 4 months, she started randomly accusing of cheating on her and continued being cold towards me. When my remote assignment ended, I was given orders overseas for 3 years. So I started preparing to rent out our house and move my wife and teenage sons. My wife constantly fought with me about it, saying she did not want to go and that I should go by myself. Also during this transition she was still cold and distant. My kids wanted to go, so she finally agreed to go. Once we got to the new location, she started constantly finding fault with everything with me and the location. So after 6 months there I received permission to move her and my kids back home at the end of the year. The next 6 months was cordial at best. She was still cold but allowed some intimacy about once a week. As the end of the year drew closer, she became excited about moving back and withdrew from me again. She stayed withdrawn from me for the last month or so. I took 2 weeks leave about a week after she departed with the kids and went back home to help out. After about 3 hours of arriving, she was telling me to just leave and go back to my base. I stayed for about 10 days and returned to my base overseas. I was there for another 2.5 years. I would go home about every 4 months for 10 days and be treated the same way as I was the first time. We would be intimate maybe twice in those 10 days, but I got a feeling she was doing it out of a feeling of obligation rather than desire. Also, she acted as if she wasn't really happy I was there and even stated she would like it better if I did not come back home until my time overseas was finished. For that remaining year and a half she remained cold and distant when I visited, and whenever I would call her to see if all was okay. If I mentioned I had went to a cookout or bowling, she would accuse me of cheating and hang up. She would also constantly tell me everything was my fault and was always in her way of doing what she wanted. After I finally got transferred back, the coldness and distance remained. After 6 months back I moved out. I stayed gone and even told her that if that is the way she was going to be I wanted a divorce. So she agreed to marriage counseling. We went, but it was mostly a joke. She blamed her coldness and distance on me not understanding her and what she wanted. So I moved back home and just ignored it from then on. I left the military and got a job that required constant traveling. Now 25 years later we are both in our 60s and retired. I have a lot of time on my hands now and time for self-reflection. Hindsight is almost always 20/20. Now I question her actions as I look back and analyze them. Various articles I have read from persons who analyze cheating spouses. My wife's actions back then fit the pattern given by other cheaters. Even though I don't have the proof or smoking gun, there was plenty of smoke. Over the years since then, some of her friends and previous co-workers have made snide remarks about her possible cheating during get-togethers while the alcohol flowed. I have mentioned it to her a few times. She never denies what they say but responds questioning their honesty or that they were probably doing themselves. We still have an occasional blowout. A few times, I have been so emotionally drained by always being who she lashes out at that I leave for a few hours just to get my composure back. When I come back I tell her that I will leave if that is what she wants. Then she immediately states that she never cheated on me and has always been faithful. To recap, 25 years ago my wife exhibited the cheater telltale symptoms listed by many professionals in the marriage counseling field. She pushed her spouse away, became distant, constantly found fault with her spouse, constantly denied cheating even though never accused of it, and constantly accused her remote spouse of cheating. Also, she constantly worked overtime on the weekends at her company, even though no one else there did except her boss. This occurred for about 3 years. So now to my question or dilemma. We have been married for 45 years now. I am now questioning our entire married years. I can't bury it at the back of my mind anymore. Should I leave the sleeping dog alone? Or should I discuss it all with her and probably tear a marriage apart? Update. A few of her co-workers, also Asian, are still around. They were also her friends. I have to be really careful because they stay in touch on Facebook. So I knew a couple of the husbands and will possibly try to talk with them. 2 oldest kids were already out of the house. Youngest lived in the video game world and never paid much attention of her comings and goings. But I will talk with them a little. Update. So I tried to reach out to someone and was very careful in what I said. His wife immediately called my wife asking why we were separated and other BS. Glad I did not actually ask my real questions. So this tells me I can't. So we'll just confront her directly and try to get her to believe I actually know something and not just suspicion. Need to get my physical living accommodations set up here in the US first. Update. It has been a while since my original post and short update. I might have posted an update after the ones on the original post. So I confronted her. She denied and kept asking who told me. She then just brushed it off as whoever it was must just be jealous of her. Even after I itemized her behavior back then in detail, she just continued to deny. Then started accusing me of not being nice back then and that I hurt her by not trusting her. She also kept wiping non-existent tears. Now this discussion was over video chat, so there might have been tears, but as soon as I backed off, she just started saying I just had bad communication with her, etc. Since then I tried to get past it, took her on a Caribbean cruise, but I just don't have those loving feelings. At this point I don't wish her any misfortune but just want to leave her. Now my oldest son and his family decided to get ancestry DNA tests. Told me the wife and I should. So I did, and I had my youngest do it also. Turns out my oldest son and my youngest son are only half-brothers. The DNA test also shows that my oldest son is not my biological son. My youngest is. I never suspected this. But there was no fidelity. My wife was pregnant for about a month before we met. 2.5 months into our relationship she told me she was pregnant. I was 19, so I assumed it was mine. I was quite naive and stupid then. So my upbringing and my infatuation convinced me I needed to marry her. So I ended up raising 2 kids that weren't mine. She had a 4-month-old when we met, and one that was. I love the 2 oldest just as much as my youngest. That will never change. I have not told the wife about this yet. I need to discuss it with my oldest son and then all 3 of them. Then I will also inform them that I'm divorcing their mother. The 2 oldest will have to ask her who their biological fathers are. I have no clue. Then I will video chat with her and inform her of everything and my intentions to file. I still feel there was at least an EA and possibly a PA 25 to 30 years ago, but I most likely will never know for sure. My decision is really based on the years of the emotional and threatened physical abuse, constant lack of respect for me, and lack of empathy or consideration for anything I needed or wanted. I will post additional updates as significant actions are taken. My spouse probably cheated on me 25 years ago. Does it matter now? Update. At the end of my last update, I was going to tell my kids the truth and then the wife. I told my kids that 5 days ago. It was pretty tough. All of my kids took it pretty good, but I think my oldest son may still be processing it. I also informed my oldest child their paternity also, not shocked at all. I do not know if their biological dads are the same individual or 2 different men. So the oldest child will get a DNA test also. I told both of them to ask their mom. Hopefully she will remember and tell them. I decided to just text my wife instead of video chat. After 40+ years I knew that would end badly. I would probably lose my composure and blow up. That would not have helped. Also, I am pretty emotional over this. The text was short and to the point. DNA test child is not mine and only half-sibling to the youngest. I stated I did not accept being lied to for 40 plus years, that the marriage was over and that I was filing for divorce. She replied shortly after that. I did not respond to any of her texts. First it was a misunderstanding about her lying to me and that she did not know. Then it was just us having bad communication. Then she was sorry that I had so much hate for her, and she would sing the papers and hoped I would find someone to make me happy. Next, the blaming me for everything and that I never cared and never trusted her. Still, I did not respond. Then the anger really kicked in, and she agreed that divorce would be best and to get it over with. All of her texting was over about 2 days. Then there was a lull for a day. I texted her that I would only text her regarding the kids, grandkids, and the divorce from now on. I included the financial support she will get and how. She gets half my military and federal pensions. She asked if I would just send all of her belongings to her. I said I would. Since then it has been dead silence from her. She has contacted the 2 oldest about everything. I have not done the paperwork yet. We'll do that shortly. That's all for now. Update. So not much has really transpired since my last update. I have a briefing with my lawyer this coming Monday. STBXW continues to try and bait me into an online argument by blaming me for not loving her, never trusting her, etc. Then long texts about throwing everything we have worked on for 46 years with pictures and crap. Trying to guilt me into submission. So far I have been successful in just ignoring it, staying civil, and text only about kids and divorce issues. Presently she says she'll sign so we can just move on. Knowing her like I do, I doubt that will happen. The only issue is the house. Her house in her country is fully paid for with my retirement funds. The profit on the house will hopefully be close to that amount. So I only plan to go 70-30 on the net profit. She did not like that, but we'll see. Kids are mostly okay. My oldest, adopted daughter, has been avoiding me, so hopefully time will help her cope. My sons are okay, just do not want to be in the middle. I promised all 3 kids I won't put them in the middle. That's all for now. Thanks for all the support. I'll update once papers are served. Update. DNA tests show oldest not my biological child, so filed for divorce. Papers were served yesterday via email. The spouse accepted them, signed them, and emailed them back to the lawyer. She stated not what she wanted but would do it for me so we could move on. So as I knew would happen, she still lays the blame at my feet. She also had to get her digs in about the kids finding out and me making her life terrible. She also complained about me never talking to her and keeping everything in. Funny, I only started doing that when it became obvious she did not really want to hear me discuss anything, or care about what I wanted or needed. I almost fell for the bait to get in a war of words. I just cut it off and signed off. I never knew what narcissism was until I read about it here and then Googled it. Every problem I had with her actions, or lack of actions, when discussed always returned around as my imagination or really just caused by me. She has never taken any responsibility for the crap she has caused over the years. When I look back over the years, my every action was based on if she would like it or would it make her happy. I know it is pretty pathetic, but when you're knee-deep in the BS you really have a hard time seeing it. Now I can see her only need or desire for me over the years has only been to support her and give her the lifestyle she wanted. But as far as she's concerned, I never did a good job at that either. The next big obstacle will be the property settlement. Not because we have so much, but mainly she thinks she is entitled to most of it. She bases that on the fact I want the divorce, so I should be the one who gives up the most. My next update will be a while. Once most of the dust settles, I'll come back for a final update, I hope. Update. Howdy all. I know it has been a while since my last update, so here's where I'm at now. I read all the various posts and considered all the recommendations provided. Of course, most recommendations were to cut and run. That is what I initially started to do. I served here with divorce papers and worked out a property settlement. She could not get the property settlement notarized in her country, due to divorce laws there and various agreements with the U.S. She also needed to come back to the U.S. to sign the house sale documents. She also needed some medical treatments that were previously needed. So she did that and visited all the kids and grandkids. She constantly tried to get me to talk and discuss why I did what I filed the divorce papers. I did try to talk with her some. It's no use accusing her of things I can't prove. Also, I have tried to keep things as civil as possible through the house sale and medical issues. When I bring up her hateful and abusive actions towards me over the years, she just deflects or accuses me of being mean too. Now all my kids said they understood my feelings, but still pushed hard for me to not walk away from 46 plus years of marriage. I won't lie, that is a hard thing to do. No matter how I tried, I still worry about the spouse and want her medical and financial issues to be okay. So I have taken a step back and am reconsidering everything. Neither one of us will be in a very good position financially if I move forward with the divorce. I do not want to cut off my nose to spite my face. I am currently trying to do two things. First, I'm trying to see if I can forget the past or at least file it away. Secondly, I'm trying to see if I can accept living in her home country most of the time, where we currently are. Only time will answer those two questions. I am honestly trying to reconcile. When I first backed away from the divorce, she became very affectionate in ways she had not been in the past 46 years. That has already started to cool off. So I will watch that also. The divorce petition is only good till the end of Jan. 2024. If I don't submit the notarized agreed on property settlement by then, the petition dies on the vine. At this point, I doubt she will go back to the U.S. in time to get the documents signed and notarized. I have no desire to ever get remarried even if the divorce went through, so I can live my remaining years separated on my own. I know this is not what most of you all recommended. All I can say is when you are in your mid to late 60s, you have to be very careful making such life-altering decisions. You can't ignore something that might have happened 30 plus years ago. But you definitely have to look at it with the reality of your current life. I will say that I should have ended things back 30 plus years when all of this was happening. I justified my beta behavior by telling myself it was for the kids. I knew better from my own childhood. So for those of you in a caustic relationship with all the red flags of cheating and being constantly disrespected, leave. Don't waste your adult life like I have. You can't get it back. The kids will get over it and respect you for it. I will update Gain when I can answer the two questions that I stated earlier are the make or break issues. Final update. Hello all. I know it's been a while. Hopefully this is my final update. In my last update I mentioned I was trying to reconcile. That lasted for 3 months. Once I returned to her home country, the excess affection and love bombing stopped. I could not forget all the crap she had pulled over the last 30 years. I also came to the realization that I did not want to live in a third world country. I like the various conveniences we have in the US. I returned to the US. I told her that it was over and we would figure out how she could get the property settlement notarized. After about 3 months back, she finally got the settlement notarized and sent back to me. I provided that to the lawyer. The lawyer submitted it to the court. We are now legally divorced. I am going through the mixed emotions of guilt, anger, sadness, and second-guessing myself. I know it's for the best. Neither one of us was happy. I have to remind myself daily that this is really for the best. From what I have read here in these various threads, it will take me some time to really come to terms with this. I want to thank all of the comments, good and bad, over the last 2 years of this journey. They did help. Second story. What would you do if your significant other said relationship is over? If you ever watched porn. I shouldn't have used the word ever. I meant from this point forward. This isn't about if the effects of porn are legitimately reason enough to end a relationship. This is about your response to the demand. I am not asking if such a demand is reasonable or has merit, just asking what you would do if you were on the receiving end of such a demand. Personally, as someone who occasionally watches porn, few times a month I'd leave a person who viewed the relationship so disposable. Of course, porn addiction can be devastating to a relationship. This post isn't really about porn but rather about ultimatums. I think I went with porn because of the number of posts I see about people willing to end relationship after finding out that their significant other has watched porn. It's not unusual for this decision to be made without even having discussed the issue prior to the discovery. Some people allow this knowledge to completely redefine the opinion of their significant other. Several posts where people have said I loved him so much, he was the perfect man but now I'm leaving. This is frequently followed with dozens of comments encouraging the woman to end the relationship, even if there was no previous discussion on the matter. My thoughts is that the significant other is considered disposable in these instances, and it's in his best interests for the relationship to end given how little it took for him to be dumped. Update: if your significant other asked you to wear a cock sleeve, would you? I would if it made her enjoy sex more. Disclaimer: I don't have a small dick, so don't come at me with that shit. I mean, it's not huge but well above the statistical average. But who cares what your size is? Why not focus on making sex enjoyable for her? Yeah, I assume you can't feel anything wearing one, so I assume she'd let you take it off when it was your turn to have fun. Update: I think my wife cheated, but I can't prove it. My 35M wife, 35F, has been very sketchy recently. Several years ago we used to be in swingers, but then she became a teacher at a local middle school and we both agreed it needed to stop. Also, I had really started to lose interest in the lifestyle. Not sure this is even relevant, but thought I'd mention it. Since this January, her behavior has changed. All of the normal stuff, reduced sex drive and lots of time on her phone. Plus she had a male co-worker that she frequently talked about. Apparently he's very funny. She was going out on Fridays after work about twice a month and not returning home until after midnight. This bothered me as I felt it was unsafe for her to be out so late. She claimed that she was fine and they just liked to hang out. I didn't mind her going out as occasionally I did the same with my friends occasionally, but always home before midnight. I had mentioned that I would like to go to one of these get-togethers. However, she said spouses haven't attended and she would find it weird. I knew that was stupid as who cares, and her parents could keep our kids for the night. The next week, a month ago, I just showed up anyway. She was sitting next to this male co-worker and two other teachers had the husbands with them. While I was there, Brad and my wife barely even talked. Odd given how much she would talk about him. FYI, Brad is not even attractive and he's a teacher. I make way more than this man. I can't understand what she sees in this guy. By comparison, I am moderately attractive while Brad is maybe a 5 out of 10. He must have an amazing personality or a huge dick. I don't know. The whole thing wrapped up around 9:30 p.m., not 1 a.m. All very sketchy. At that point I was convinced something was going on. The next day, I checked our phone records and they were texting frequently every day, 5-20 times a day every day. I ended up confronting her and asked to see her text messages. I didn't tell her that I had checked our phone records. She said I was being paranoid and showed me. Their chat history showed only a few text messages per week despite the fact that he was above me on the list and I had texted her that same day. At that point I am 100% positive something was going on. Again, I didn't tell her what I knew, but I told her that I wasn't cool with her relationship with Brad and I had some thinking to do. She told me I was being crazy and then I slept on the couch. The next day, she let me know that she would stop associating with him unless it was strictly work-related. I didn't believe her. I then hired a PI to track her when she went out, but she hasn't gone out again for the last month. Ultimately, I'm out a few $1,000s I paid the PI since she's behaving herself. Now she's returned to her pre-affair self. Unfortunately, I can't prove she cheated, but I'm 99% certain she did. I'm leaning towards divorce, but we have kids and again I can't prove anything. I'm still sleeping on the couch, which really upsets her. She has initiated sex on several occasions, but I haven't been interested. She told me she would transfer to a different school if that would help me calm down, still claiming that I'm being crazy. We live in an at-fault state, so not being able to prove anything really sucks. People keep asking me to update them. I may post again eventually, but I don't want to track everyone down to let them know. I'm going to speak with a lawyer and look into divorce and what I'm risking during the process. I'd rather live on the couch than only get my kids every other weekend. Update. I think my wife cheated but can't prove it. First, I wanted to thank people for all of their advice. A lot of it has been very helpful. Anyway, she and I spoke. I confronted her with everything and she made no effort to deny things this time. Obviously, as I knew, she was gaslighting me and she admits that. I informed her that I was thinking about divorce, but also about remaining and just co-parenting our kids. I really don't want to split custody, not do I want her to get her chump brat involved in their lives. She insisted that nothing physical happened but admits that she let things go too far with him. She also said that she would rather get a divorce than live with someone who no longer wanted to be with her, that it would be too painful and unhealthy. Having said that, she doesn't want either of those options and she loves me and wants to work on things. She has already asked for a transfer to another school. She told me that Brad was not going to be part of her life going forward. Even if we get divorced, and that it was just a friendship that got inappropriate, but never involved anything physical. She admits that he wants her to leave me and she never shut that down. She was very flattered by all of his attention and commitments. Additionally, they had things in common that my wife and I didn't. She went to his place 3 times and claims all they did was some movies that I didn't enjoy, Harry Potter movies. This is hard to believe, but she swears it's true. No way this is acceptable, even if true. I have watched all of those movies with her countless times. Granted, I wasn't really paying attention, but I can practically quote those stupid movies. He also sent her a dick pic at one point. She had asked him not to, but he did anyway. Obviously, she should have reported this to HR, but she didn't. She claims that she didn't want to get him in trouble. I asked, and apparently he has a rather large penis. For comparison, mine is above average, but nobody would call it huge. She said she deleted it shortly after he sent it to her. For her part, she sent him 3 photos. One was a picture of her in a dress and heels that she wore to a work event at my job. Claims she wanted his opinion on it. She also sent him 2 pictures of her feet. Sounds odd, but she has very attractive feel and made some cash as a foot model in the past. One was used for a Temu ad for high heels they sell. She swears that's all she sent him. Additionally, they went antique shopping once. She loves doing this and I hate it. I honestly wouldn't have minded her shopping with him had she told me. Apparently they were work spouses and she enjoyed this. I wasn't too upset by that as I had something similar at work, but it only existed at work. There was nothing else to it. No texts or staying out later going shopping. I wouldn't even go out for lunch with her unless someone else was with us. This ended when she repeatedly mentioned that her husband was out of town for the weekend. Could tell where she wanted things to go. She is married BTW to a man who has cheated on her. She let me know that she had texted him to tell him that she was ending the friendship. She showed me the text. She explained that the relationship had crossed lines and she regrets not ending things sooner. She showed me the text. He responded by bad-mouthing me and told her that we don't have anything in common. This isn't true. There are many interests that we don't share, but we have many things we enjoy doing together. She blocked him after receiving a few of those texts. Even if she is telling the truth, I'd still be mad about her going to his house and all of the lying. However, she's very remorseful and upset at herself for damaging our marriage. Not sure what I'm going to do. We had such a great marriage, but I find it difficult trusting her right now. The fact that we were once swingers, years ago, is not an excuse for cheating. There are rules to that lifestyle and we both agreed we were done with it anyway.